Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines, everyone. Deep in a bunker in the center of communist state of Illinois. Terry Newsom and Paul Drabick, thank you for joining tonight. We have
How you doing, everybody?
so we have a pretty cool show tonight. We're going to focus on some of the big wins that we had in the last, week or so, representing parents. So we've got Janulias. He admitted on the Senate floor that they're pumping porn into our schools. If you haven't seen the clip, you got to look it up.
It's disturbing, he said. To Senator
Kennedy.
Yeah.
And then Senator Lee also said that, we're not going after the LGBTQ kids. We're going after porn. Been saying that for 2 years. So that's a little bit exciting. We're also going to talk about another win for us. Congressman radical scumbag Sean Casten. We had a book banning event that he held, a book banning roundtable event. And it was really to insult parents that were against pornography. And I brought my big, famous blowjob posters.
Terry's security blanket.
Freaked them out. So,
we're going to play some clips, right? Pretend like we know what we're doing today.
So he was so flustered. I think we'll have some clips later. He was so flustered that he said, "There's only one person in this library who brought pornography today." And he pointed at me. And this is the jamoke that's putting porn in our kids'
Problem
school.
is, we could have gone downstairs and checked it out of the children's section.
Yeah. So we got him to admit it's pornography. Another big win for parents this week is the famous book Genderqueer, which Hank Thiel, he's the scumbag superintendent of D99 school where our kids go or will go, or Sean Casten's kids went.
Before they banned us from the auditorium, we used to go in there and tell them to get this crap out of the schools.
So, I forgot the author's name. I think it's Mia Kablomi or something
Kablomi, I think.
Yeah, Kablomi.
Blowjob.
Yeah, so Mia Kablomi came out and said that the book was not made for children or kids.
Oh.
So
how do you like that?
Again, 2 years I've been pummeled by these radical leftist communist scumbag groomers, and we've got two Illinois politicians admitting it's pornography.
And Stava Murray is representative for, I think, District 81, if I'm not mistaken.
And she's proud of pushing porn.
Mm-hmm. But we're bigots, according to her.
And then we got Mia Kablomi admitting the book is not for kids and children. So, it's kind of interesting.
And the problem is this stuff is, like, one of the things, and we're going to show some of that stuff. One of the things that they do is they say that you need to include, to make them, the LGBTQ community feel included. But the problem is they promote these books in the children's section, especially during Pride Month. They did it at the Downers Grove Library. So, it'd be one thing if they had these books in the library and in the school libraries. I think parents would be pissed off and want to get that crap out of the library. But they promote it.
Yeah.
And then they call us bigots and crazy. So I think that's what, just doesn't add up.
And we're not banning books. We're not targeting the LGBTQ community.
We're not saying that these books shouldn't be published.
No, we're targeting.
That's free speech. I'm a free speech proponent.
We're targeting a strap-on cock being worn by a chick with a kid down to his knees, sucking it down to his tonsils. This does not represent the gay community or children. I don't see any kids walking around Downers Grove High School thinking, an LGBTQ kid saying, oh my God, if there's not a blowjob book in the library, I'm not going to feel like I'm part of the team.
Well, the point you make all the time is the idea is that kids are sexual animals. Like, I get it. For me, a lot of what I thought about when I, was growing up in that age was, women and getting laid. And of course, like you're in puberty and, but the point is, we don't want our schools promoting the pornography. Yeah. One of the ladies at the round table is like, they get it on their phone. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, why don't we teach it in class? Why don't we just have them watch porno?
Or they get worse than that on their phone, or they get worse than that on their laptops. Well, they could get drugs and alcohol on the street. That doesn't mean you sell the shit in the cafeteria.
And my tax dollars don't pay your cell phone bill, so I don't know. I don't understand the point there.
So, in celebration of this episode, I have my Pride sparkling wine. I only bought 2 cans just for the show, but it's actually not bad.
He started grabbing my leg a little bit earlier as he crashed that thing. So,
and then
just keep your distance.
What else? Oh, so we're gonna. I got this shirt here too. This I'm gonna wear. Hey, Theo, I told you to watch the show tonight, you prick. If you're watching, I'm gonna wear. I did. So
he's censoring us.
Yeah, Downers Grove folks, right? I sent him an email with our little commercial link to Theo. I said, hey, if you're bored, watch the show. You're going to be on it tonight. So this is about the CRT. You could shove that up your ass right with the porn.
So, yeah. So I think the point of this podcast is we're going to start getting into the meat and potatoes of, what we've seen just in our small community of Downers Grove. We all see what's going on the internet. There's, if you're following this kind of stuff on the internet with gays against groomers, libs of TikTok is a big one, right? If you follow James Lindsay or Christopher Rufo,
Log Cabin Republicans,
a lot of this stuff they put. Libs of TikTok is great. I mean, if you want to see some of the radical crap that's going on all over the country, particularly in schools, you go to the Libs of TikTok, and they're effective because they're getting censored all the time, or they're getting like the Southern Poverty Law Center is going after them, stuff like that. But yeah, so we're gonna get in the meat and potatoes and show you some material that proves that even in your community, they're trying to push this agenda, the indoctrination, and there's propagandists in your library, and it's being subsidized by the government. So I think we were going to talk about your first run-in with this stuff, right, Terry? The Drag Santa.
Yeah. So this is gonna be funny. We got producer over there. Jason, are you ready? We're going to run a clip on Drag Santa. And as we're getting this ready are you ready to throw it up? Should I stop talking?
This is the HBO one, right?
Yeah, this is the HBO one. And so I could give a little background how we got there, right? So they're all the radical scumbags from Downers Grove that are pushing porn and in Downers Grove High School. Drag bingo in the library, and there's a Methodist church where they're pushing Drag Santa and Dr. Claus.
Drag Santa, it's like
So there was a Drag Santa, Dr. Claus.
Why do we have to be confused about Santa's gender? Like, I know that's the last thing that I worried about when I was a kid. Like, he's got a beard, he's fat, he's got a red suit, he's gonna give me goddamn presents.
Yes, right. So we heard he was going to be up there, and parents from Downers Grove area, D99, and parents, we went up and we met, had a few drinks before. Jeff Mack, if you're out there,
a few drinks.
Yeah, Jeff Mack, you're gonna be a star tonight. So we met some parents there, and there was some other parents, people from other neighborhood areas that we met up there. There was other fathers that some of these guys, happen to be Proud Boys. They show up at the same events that we show up to. So we all met to peacefully protest our concerns with them grooming children with the trans Santa Claus. To Paul's point, what child, remember when you were a child, when you were young enough to believe in Santa Claus, did you wonder if Santa Claus had a penis or had it removed or had a boob job and a beard and he's a woman and who he has sex with? If you're so innocent and naive child to believe in Santa Claus, right? Imaginary Santa Claus, who brings you presents, even though it's your parents. Doesn't matter if you're a heterosexual, homosexual, LGBTQ child. At that age, when you're so young and impressionable and thinking of an imaginary Santa, you don't think about the sex. You don't think if he has a penis or if he sleeps with a boy or a girl. So these people did it to push it down our throats.
Right. So it's hard to think that there isn't an agenda when there's just no need for it. It's like, and of course they're targeting the kids with this stuff.
Roll it there, Big J. So I dressed up as Bad Santa.
You won't even let us watch what's going on? Is this a secret?
We haven't threatened anyone, attacked anyone. We haven't done. Don't worry, we're not leaving.
Yeah, we're not leaving.
Are you the Proud Boys?
Yeah, I'm a problem.
See our shirt, Terry? Can you read?
Sure, here, take it. That's what we're about.
Proud Boys have never killed anybody, ever. Ever.
This is at the heart of the cultural problem in America today. You guys moved the location, or there would have been more, but there's going to be more here soon.
We have a lot of people that live in Naperville. So good luck.
It's okay.
Drunken bad Santa. That'd be me.
We are protesting the indoctrination of children. We're elves. Yeah, we're Proud Boy elves, and we're protesting the outsourcing of our jobs and our bosses.
This church is infected with evil.
We don't even know what a transgender Santa Claus looks like. You know, if you Google it, this is what comes up. A woman with a beard.
They're destroying Santa Claus.
And really, the Bible that I read says that this is a sin.
Santa's not in the Bible.
Okay. Santa's not in the Bible.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hi.
Welcome.
Jolly. Jolly.
Say jolly.
You're propagating division.
Well, yeah. So,
You want to clear up that selectively edited clip where he mentions that Santa's not in the Bible?
yeah. One of the Proud Boys that was there meant this isn't in the Bible. He did not mean that Santa Claus was not in the Bible. He was talking about the sexual activities and stuff that he doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
That's not in the Bible. But this was written up in a couple of magazines and stuff, and I think Rolling Stones magazine, and they were calling this poor kid out as if he was a fool who said Santa Claus is not in the Bible. That's bullshit. So,
Yeah, and
thanks for bringing it
they're
up.
always trying to make us look, like redneck idiots, or there's a narrative they're trying to push about people who aren't progressive. They're regressive. And I would argue that what they're doing is regressive. Pitting people against each other about everything, now even gender.
I think we ended that a little soon, didn't we? How'd they find us, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
can you keep that going? Just let it go.
Yeah.
Jason, could you let that roll? You have it right where you're at? Because that's part of the funny part.
Sure.
Right where it's at there. There you go.
Even worse, you're propagating division to children.
Right.
I think it's horrific.
Say cookies.
Cookies.
That's what the Proud Boys are. They're hate. How did they find us? Like, we kept this a secret, so I don't know how they got here, and a little concerned.
What do you call a fear of Santa
All right,
Claus?
that's good.
Claustrophobia.
After the joke. All right.
Claustrophobia. That's pretty good. So I remember when this thing happened in Downers Grove, there's an uproar. I mean, parents were pissed off. So there's this Methodist church in Downers Grove that pushes the gender ideology stuff. Apparently Methodist, that flavor of Christianity, is going with the woke agenda. So I remember that people were really pissed off about this thing, and they were speaking out against it. And I believe the church had said that they had canceled the event. So it sounds so they tried to trick everybody, but apparently Terry, in his detective ways,
It was just accident. I was like, so we met some parents. Everybody that was going up there to peacefully protest. So you saw everything there. And we were having some drinks in the bar, and they originally said they canceled it, but we heard it was on. They're trying to trick us. So we're in the bar, and me and a couple other fathers, who I don't even know who they were, walked over there, and a car pulls up, and two guys get out, and I said, "Hey, Jim." My brother's name is Jim. I didn't know what else to say. We're trying to find out if they moved the location. I go, "Hey, Jim." And he goes, "Yeah."
shot in the dark.
The driver. I'm like, "Hey." I go, "What's going on?" And he goes, "We're with HBO. We're here for Drag Santa." I'm like, "Oh, great." I go, "Where is everybody?" He goes, "Oh, they were worried about a threat or something, so they moved it to another church in Naperville." I'm like, "Oh man, I got my kids in the restaurant over here. They're going to be disappointed." So he told me the address. It was just lucky that guy had the same name as my brother. So that's how that happened. And so I jumped in the car, drove over to the other location, and there with the parents. The parents stayed. I could hear you. I think. Say
All right.
something. Yeah. Yeah. So the parents were in Downers Grove, where they did have some Santa Claus stuff there, and then the drag Santa was at the other place. So I went over there. So you'll see the clip, and if you look at the clip, right, there's these Proud Boys there. Those guys were pretty respectful, didn't yell. Who was the most rowdy? Some of the parents and grandparents that were at the Downers Grove place. And
yeah, but if they did that now, you think they might get 5 years in prison. I mean, would that guy get 20-something years without even being at January 6th?
Yeah, don't say that. I get twitchy. So I went over there and I changed. The only reason I had that mask on was because I left my Santa beard dropped in the driveway. And so I happened to have that goatee and a cigar and stuff. Looked like Bad Santa. And I was walking up, and there's undercover cops hiding under the tree. And they're watching these Proud Boys there. And they weren't even close. There was no kids close. Couldn't see it. They had them in the center of the parking lot. And I stuck my Santa face in, and they kind of jumped up. And I'm like, hey, I go, I'm Bad Santa. And the cops laughed, and he's like, oh, just stay on the sidewalks. And they're laughing. So as you see, we stayed on the sidewalk. Nobody went past the sidewalk. And then the parents that you'll see in the other clip were at the other church. And so that's it. There was no violence or, extremist that's going to cause anyone. There's people that
but we're always accused. Anybody who opposes this agenda is always accused of being violent extremists.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're the ones getting threatened, harassed,
right. Yeah.
Doxed
with our company, the companies that we work for. People are contacting HR departments. They're going after livelihoods.
Yeah. So our concerns with the drag Santa, the porn, and all this crazy stuff,
sexualizing kids.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with LGBTQ. Kids. Nothing. But with that said, who's pushing that stuff? And it's not the mainstream, like the Gays Against Groomers folks, the log cabin Republicans. It's the whack jobs on the far end of their community. And more so, like most of these nuts in Downers Grove that is pushing this crap, they're lily white Karens from Downers Grove. They're not even gay.
That's the hypocrisy of it all. It's a brainwashed class of people. They call themselves progressives, and what this is just cultural Marxism. So yes. Marxism, at the state level, from a policy perspective, just becomes communism, right? And now, as you see this stuff playing out, you can understand how a cultural Marxist approach can turn into a communist government. Because what they do is they attack the culture and say, the way things have been done in the past are wrong, and all these classes are oppressed. Back in Soviet Russia, it was a class war. It's economic. It was the proletariat versus the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie was the existing ruling class, and they had to overturn them because they oppressed the proletariat and they were evil, and so they had to go. Only problem is they came in and they oppressed for 50-something years the rest of the people in the country, created a class of a 0.1%, and then the rest of the people,
that's what's happening here.
50 million people died. And that's the problem, Terry, because I'm always saying, like, how do you think that started? That started with people that had good intentions. And these people, they're pushing the gender ideology, they're pushing the race ideology, they're pushing all of the divisive stuff. And they say that everybody that doesn't agree with them are bigots.
Yeah. I don't think all of them are like communists. I think many of them are idiots.
That's what it could lead
as
to.
I'm saying, many of them are idiots, right?
Right.
And they're too stupid or too naive.
Well, they fancy themselves compassionate.
Yeah.
But that's my problem and we talked to some of these people at this book banning event, and I can see them sitting up there with measured tones and, they seem rational.
Not all of them.
But they act like it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And what I see is an ignorance to the kind of stuff that they're pushing. It leads to legislation that takes away our rights, that leads to, some things that are getting a little towards communism. As soon as you start attacking individual rights on the basis of protecting a certain class, you're not operating within the Constitution anymore.
Yeah, and these are the inclusive people, right? They're inclusive. They're only inclusive if you agree with them. It's got to be 100% too.
Absolutely. That's just not human nature. It's never going to be. We are not equal, not in the sense that some people are better than others. We're not equal in the sense that we have different interests. We come from different places. We want different things. We have different desires, and you can't try to legislate for everybody to protect those differences. Yeah. You have to let people live, right?
Yeah, do you think I want this Southside Italian accent?
I don't know. I'm
stuck with it.
I think it's pretty good for the podcast. I like it.
I mean, I'm not equal.
Let's keep it that way. It works. It plays, Terry.
Yeah. So
and there's other stuff like this, right? So the next thing that we had to deal with again in Downers Grove, and look, I mean, I have nothing against drag queens.
Yeah,
that's fine. I thought they're pretty funny up until they start pushing them on kids.
I dated one once when I was drunk in my 20s until I found out. My God, you're a dude.
Ron White, the comedian, said he used to go down to Tijuana and he got so drunk he didn't care. He was like, oh, whatever. Anyway, that's another.
Don't tell anyone, all right? I don't want my friends to know from the South Side. Oh my God.
It just shows that you're inclusive, Terry. Yeah. So we had an instance in Downers Grove again where the library had decided that they wanted to throw a drag queen. Was it bingo?
Drag queen bingo and Katy Perry singing.
This was a big deal.
Jason, you got that dude with the beard?
Which one was that?
The Downers Grove drag dude with the beard. Aurora Divine.
Ava something.
Aurora Divine.
Aurora Divine.
The most raunchiest, nastiest performer in Boys Town.
It's an
Italian dude, by the way. I found as I did a little digging. Beard, and he was going to come and play bingo.
But then do like a drag performance. So first, if you're gonna have bingo. Why is it got to be done by a drag queen?
Wait, go up there. I saw him there.
Aurora
Wait, go down a little bit. Go down. He's a dude with a beard. Aurora. Oh, there he is. Wait, go down. There he is. That's the guy. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Downers Grove. Yeah.
That's Aurora Divine. He's going to play bingo with 12-year-old kids and sing.
Yeah.
And then once they found out, I found out I Google search. I mean, like it took me a second. Found out his ads in Boys Town where he promotes himself as raunchous and nasty.
So the problem was that they were pushing this thing for kids, and people. Everybody in the community, I mean, had an opinion one way or the other. There were a lot of people that were pissed off about it, right? I went to the library meeting. I didn't speak at that one, but I went there. I was running an errand for the wife, and my beautiful, loving wife, who was very understanding, and her name is Annie, and I love you dearly. Thank you for being the best mother ever. Just had to slip that in there. I was running
He's
an
not
airport.
married as long as I have, man.
So I ran an errand and I went
you
there.
You love your wife.
Yeah, you got to add up a couple wives to get.
I got to. Yeah.
Never, Annie. You're always on my mind. So I went in there to check it out, and the place was packed, filled, right? And most of the people were against it. You had some people that were for it, and they were loud. But it was packed, and then they decided to cancel it, right, Terry? Yeah. And what happened?
So
there was
everybody was peaceful too.
Yeah,
everybody from our side, from Downers Grove, that's cool. D99, cool.
Yeah.
D99.
You got to remember that.
I wasn't at that meeting that y'all were at. It was packed, but everyone was peaceful. And then there was a couple of whack jobs that were not from our community that sent one kid, I think he was like 20 years old, out of Lamont, left a voicemail. There was a guy from Idaho or something. Remember?
Yeah, supposedly,
some guy from
yeah.
Idaho that left a message.
Yeah.
Police talked to him. And then there was some other nut that I don't think we ever found out who exactly it was, but I think it's a liberal radical.
Sent a bullet.
Sent a bullet to the Wheaton courthouse with the said it was from MAGA with a Confederate flag.
That's totally
in it.
ridiculous. You had some politicians that were pandering with it.
So, God, what's her name? Julie Malkovich?
Milovich,
library director, radical leftist, doesn't like the police.
They quoted some numbers too, by the way. They were like, the overwhelming majority was supportive of this, and they gave 61 to 40 something percentage.
Oh, they stacked that bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
a survey of who wanted it.
Yeah, but I don't buy it because they didn't produce the.
Yeah, they're liars.
So, and it's funny because they canceled the event. Like, if they were so principled, you would think that they would go on with it anyway. But clearly, a lot of people didn't want it, so they didn't do it, and that was why. It wasn't because people threatened them, and at least that's my opinion, and I don't buy it.
Yeah, no, they lied, and so this woman is anti-police, right? So they had opportunities to do active shooter drills.
Yeah.
We're supposed to give law enforcement a key. She refused to do that. This woman refused to practice with the Downers Grove Police Department to do active shooter drills, right? Refused because she doesn't like them and the police and all this stuff, right?
Oh, that's kind of like the mass shooting. The Democrats were against the mass shootings. When Republicans put bills in to put security guards in schools and make kids safer, they say no, they can't. They vote against those bills because it's like, let's just take everybody's guns. But that's their logic.
So here's the hypocrisy of this woman, right? Against the police, right? Even to the point where she refuses to provide safety training for her library staff and the members for active shooter drills. But as soon as these people made these threats, there's 3 people, and yes, they should go after them. They should investigate it, right? And they should, if they did something wrong, they should be prosecuted. All 3 investigations were found they were not viable. All 3 of them. That doesn't mean that when we say that we're justifying it, they shouldn't have happened. We're not justifying.
Well, I'm just spitballing here, but a good strategy, I would think, if you're the opposing force, would be make it look like the people that oppose you are radical and are going after you and being violent,
like put a Confederate flag in an envelope and say you're MAGA.
Yeah.
So this woman, right, is so anti-police, but all of a sudden when this happened, she made it, quote, a federal case.
Yeah.
They had federal postal workers get involved, right? I FOIA'd these guys. I found out, I was quoted in one of the stories, and I said there were not viable threats. I repeated what I got in my FOIA.
Right.
And then they're posting on Twitter, oh, Terry Newsom is not, doesn't acknowledge there was threats. No, there was threats. I just said they weren't considered anything to worry about. Now, they shouldn't have happened, right? So don't twist my words, you liars.
But when they say not viable, that means they didn't. That means, I don't know if it means they didn't open a criminal investigation. They might have, but it definitely means they didn't charge anybody with anything.
Yeah.
So it's not even.
It wasn't even worth exploring further. Based on
it's not even threatening. Okay, so I don't know. It doesn't add up. If you were principled, you would just stick to your guns and have the event. But the point is that there were enough people in the community that didn't want this, and they reached out to the library to tell them that.
Oh, so I think actually, honestly, now I hear where you're going. I think that was flip flop. They acted like there was more of them, and it's bullshit. They were lying. That's why they didn't show us. There was more of them that wanted.
That's exactly what they said.
Yeah,
they said that.
I thought I misunderstood.
Yeah. No, they definitely said that, but they didn't produce any of the data,
which means they're liars. Because if they had the data, they would have stuffed it down our throats, man.
I mean, it should be public record.
Right.
We should be able to FOIA it. I don't know if somebody did that, but I don't buy it anyway. Because again, if they're principled, they would have it, especially if there was more people supporting it.
So here's the hypocrisy of this library director, radical. Anti-law enforcement that pulls them in for her threats so she could go in front of the camera, remember? And I was actually interviewed out there in front of a few news stations, and I had the Glasston shirt on. And then the radical leftist said I was there. It was black and yellow. It was from 1774, 5, and even what's his name, Benjamin Franklin had something to do with it. Oh, he's wearing Proud Boy colors and shirt. No, that wasn't what I was.
No,
don't tread on me.
That's a don't tread on me. Yeah,
and so
it goes back to the revolution.
So anyway, as I was leaving the library, I ran into a woman on the corner.
Gadsden flag.
This woman, I heard her talking about the library. And I didn't know her. I just heard her talking to another lady. Long story short, this woman was just let go from the library. And she has some... So just so you know, Julie, yeah, I found her. I'm not going to say her name and went after you for how you mistreated her, right? I heard her talking to somebody, and I went back and talked to her. I found from this woman who just left the library that they have what's called PITS report, incident reports. Julie, radical anti-police director, refuses to file police reports. They've had all these different people were in there masturbating, shooting up, needles that were in the bathroom, taking pictures. I got all the PITS reports, all of them, stacks of them.
For people that don't know, there's a methadone clinic right down the street from the library, and we have a liberal library board, and they welcome the homeless people come around the library and hang out around there. And there's been some disturbing reports that have come out.
Better be careful now. Now that you said that, that means you hate homeless people. I'm being
Man, do I hate homeless people?
It's like when I presented to the library board, I spit on the lens. No, I'm kidding. I presented to the library board, and I said, either you're a library or you're a homeless shelter. You can't be both. You can't with the kids there. There was a couple kids from north that were tutors that quit because they weren't safe.
Yeah.
There was a mother that was stalked on their way out to her car.
It's got nothing to do with homelessness. It's, if there's somebody that's threatening,
they're bringing
or
hot pots
doing
in the
drugs.
library.
A side note on this, the interesting thing that I remember hearing about at the Downers Grove Library was they had all gender bathrooms. They're doing that experiment, and those bathrooms were located in the children's section, of course. I'd have to double check that, but I did hear that they did that. I know that in the adult section there was gendered bathrooms, but I remember talking to a buddy about this, and he was of the opinion this wasn't as big of a deal. Like kids are exposed to different things. I think my point is like, look, it's a public institution. We all pay for it. If there are enough people that don't want this type of thing to go on in the library, that don't want their tax dollars to go towards something like this, they should be heard. And they should be respected, and it should be removed. And that's ultimately what happened. And we think we got a lot of BS excuses about it. But the problem is we all have to use the public institution, right? It should not be political. And the minute that you do something like this, you make it political because it's divisive. Yeah. It's the intention is sexualizing kids, whether they want to say it's not. It is, okay? Drag queens are sexual in nature, especially the performances that they do. And most of the people I know who are against this were never against drag queens until they started pushing it on kids. So again, you have to respect everybody when it comes to the public institution, and this is why you shouldn't politicize public institutions. But we see that more and more from the left is that they're in power, and so that then they are going to control these institutions and push the propaganda and the agendas that fit their narratives.
Yeah. So what do you think?
So we've covered a lot of territory already, right? But we're trying to lead into the book ban event that we both attended with a bunch of other parents back in August, I want to say, somewhere around August 21st, at the Indian Prairie Public Library, which is in Darien, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And Sean Caston and Anastava Murray, who's a representative for a state representative here in Illinois. We're holding a book ban roundtable. We had, I think we had We had a psychologist there. We had a couple librarians there. We had a lawyer, a representative from the American Library Association, who was there to tell us about how important the Library Bill of Rights is, because we all know that institutions and their rights are very important, aren't they? So Terry and I went there. Terry brought his cool poster, and we sat front row right across from Sean Caston and Miss Stava Murray and their acolytes, and listened to their Marxism and why they thought it was the right thing to do to take away our rights so that they could give libraries rights. And of course, Miss Stava Murray, she's always so friendly to her constituents. And she led things off in a very amicable way. So let's go ahead and play that clip.
Oh, yeah, so wait, before we play that, sorry, I sent them through the little disorganizational skills on my part.
Okay.
So
we
we attended this with some grandparents.
Was that a bunch of
friendly
right-wing
parents? I don't know if we got
fascists
that up there. Yeah. And we're going to show you a picture of some of the folks that went with us, right? And then my 84-year-old mother met us there. A bunch of grandparents.
I mean, look at that. Look at those bigots. Got a Jesus shirt in there.
Hold on, we don't have it up yet.
Okay, so we'll keep talking. So we met mostly grandparents and parents, and we went to this event. It was called Book Banning Roundtable, and basically what it was is insulting us for about an hour. There it is. Right? There's the terrorist.
Well, it was a bunch of Marxists telling us why it was necessary to take parents' rights away. Because that's what the book ban bill does. Which it's not even called the book ban bill, but I think it's the Library Act something.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's fucking book banning.
So let's see how Representative Stava Murray kicked this thing off.
Oh, God, I hate her. Listen for the insults.
Looking closely at what these people like to call morality reveals what it actually
Air
is.
Quotes.
Bigotry. That's why making sure that bans are not supported by taxpayer dollars is crucial. Because taxpayer dollars belong to everyone, not to those who belong to an in-crowd or whose views, cultures, traditions, or lifestyles have been sanctioned by some majority clique.
That's us.
Nobody is forcing you or your children to read these books that you object to.
So yeah, always a good way to start out a conversation with your constituents by claiming that they are immoral and bigoted, right?
Well, you know what? As you said, when you talk about constituents and how she's insulting them, we can't even have Senator John Curran defend our. I know I'm going on.
Well, no, that's a good point.
He doesn't want to insult that freak and the people that vote for her over us and our children. John Curran refuses to denounce pornography. He's a Republican.
Well, that's why we're doing this, right? Because we don't. This was a group of parents that went here. We can't even get our own politicians to come there and ask questions about, why. Because I looked at the book ban bill and who voted for it. It was all Democrats voted for it, no Republicans. So I don't understand. And we got no support from our local township organization. We had, it's all grassroots, and that's what we're doing here. The grassroots have to go and challenge these people. And you could tell when we were sitting across from them, they were very uncomfortable when we challenged them. They didn't know how to handle it.
They're not used to it because we got a bunch of gutless weasels that are scared to speak the truth. There's nothing wrong with wanting pornography out of the kids' schools. Nothing.
I don't want conflict. I don't want to be uncomfortable. But I want to know why they think it's okay to take away our rights.
I like conflict though.
A little bit. I guess I do too. Just a tad. Well, especially when somebody thinks that they're they're queen and king of the establishment, and that anything that they do or say is, moral.
What did Keston say to me about dignity or something?
No, yeah. Have you no dignity, sir?
Back to him.
All right, you know what? Enough with your Marcus of Queensberry rules bullshit, because we all know that you're in a blue state and you don't have. There's no there's no drag. You're not experiencing anybody challenging you unless it's grassroots parents. So
we got another clip to go here.
yeah, let's roll a clip.
Big Jason's
They had
over
a
there.
psychologist who came to tell us their scientist representative who came to talk down to us and tell us why, we understand that you're upset about pornography in schools, but we have to have it or else the LGBTQ kids don't feel safe. Let's roll the clip.
Why is it so important, then, that books on sensitive or politically controversial topics remain accessible to all members of the community? Well, as we discussed, books allow us to gain access to and information about ideas, events, and people that we may not otherwise be exposed to. In fact, in some communities, books may be the only resource available which acknowledges and validates the existence of members of marginalized groups. This is particularly true for the LGBTQ community, which has recently become the recipient of a tremendous amount of hostility and venom on both national and local levels. Books with LGBTQ characters and content are being contested in schools and libraries across the country. And the removal of these books would, in effect, erase representation of an entire community of people. This would undoubtedly have a pervasive and devastating impact on the mental health of the LGBTQ community, which is already in crisis.
Undoubtedly.
It is critical for LGBTQ youth to see themselves represented in literature and to be recognized as valid and valuable members of our society.
So look, and I drag these posters around because I put it in their face because they hate it. They hate that I do this, right? So they are so disgusted, that liberal piece of crap there, that's going to lower these children. They're just like any of our children, the LGBTQ kids, right? They're not walking around thinking they got to see a damn blowjob to feel included in the high school. If they don't, they might commit suicide. You're a liar, lady. You're a liar.
I mean, the hyperbole. Erase representation of an entire community by what? Not having that book available to children? What a blowhard, what nonsense. What absolute nonsense. That is just, it's absurd. And she fancies herself, a pillar of the community, a psychologist who's here to be compassionate and look out for LGBTQ kids. And LGBTQ kids, there's no such thing. I mean, all kids navigate their way through puberty and high school trying to find out who they are and, who they're attracted to. I mean, the minute that you put this kind of crap in schools, especially in like junior high, you're sexualizing children, and you're the bad guy.
Yep.
You're the bad guy when you do that.
Ideal thoughts.
Okay, so
my pride wine is I put it in here for some ice because I'm celebrating for our
Ideal thoughts.
You were getting a little touchy-feely earlier. So let's stick with that psychologist because she further tries to legitimize the material that they're forcing into the schools with some statistics. So let's go to clip 8, Jason, and play her justification here. I think we can skip to 37 seconds in if you want.
Thoughts, feelings, behavior.
Yeah, about 37 seconds. There you go.
That poster could be very disturbing. I get that. I hear you.
Oh, this one? This one?
About what's important. I understand that poster could be very disturbing.
Oh, do you?
I get that. I hear you. But you know what? There's a gay child in high school right now that's contemplating suicide. And let me read you some statistics about that, actually.
Oh, let's hear your statistics.
The 2023 Trevor Project U.S. National Survey on Mental Health of LGBTQ Young People was just released.
Oh, my.
It surveyed over 28,000 LGBTQ youth ages 13 through 24 to see what their symptoms are, what their experience has been over the past year. 41% of these kids seriously considered attempting suicide. 14% did attempt suicide. 67% of these kids report experiencing clinically significant anxiety. 54% clinically significant depression. Nearly 2 in 3 said that hearing about these state and local laws that ban discussions of LGBTQ people at school and not having access to that made their mental health significantly worse. And nearly 1 in 3 said that their mental health was poor either most of the time or all of the time due to anti-LGBTQ policies and legislation. This is an incredibly at-risk community.
is porn
and
the
by
therapy?
and by having access, seeing themselves represented in books, and you're calling it porn.
Allow her to finish. She's talking to me.
No, I hear you.
She's talking to me, sir.
Have no decency.
There it is. Have you no decency?
There you go.
All right, listen. This is obviously very heated.
Okay, yeah.
And again,
All right.
we're talking about
We
kids.
can cut it there. Yeah.
So real quick, this is not going to stop any child from committing suicide. This is bullshit.
Well,
she's talking about
Terry,
not being. I mean,
how
not-
dare you? She's a psychologist.
Yeah.
So, well, you know what? Let's dig into those statistics that Miss
Please do.
EQDG had cited during that speech that she was giving. So I did a little digging on the Trevor Project and their BS statistics, and found an article by Restoration News, Restoration of America, and they did a little research. So if you want to scroll down a little, Jason, I think it's probably the middle of the article. It gives the meat and potatoes. Keep going. Where's the proof? There you go. Right there. Okay, so if you look in that with the black line to the left there, it discusses how they got to these conclusions. So it says, a quantitative cross-sectional design was used to collect data through an online survey platform between September 1st and December 12th, 2022. A sample of individuals aged 13 to 24 who resided in the United States was recruited via targeted ads on social media. No recruitment was conducted via the Trevor Project's website or social media channels. In order to ensure the representativeness of the sample, targeted recruitment was conducted to ensure adequate sample sizes with respect to geography, gender identity, and race/ethnicity. Each question related to mental health and suicide was preceded by a message stating, if at any time you need to talk to somebody about your mental health or thoughts of suicide, please call the Trevor Project. Okay, now here's the good part. Notice that? Survey respondents originated 100% from targeted social media ads. Surveys of this nature are notoriously unreliable because the sample consists only of those who are prone to responding to ads and filling out surveys. The report fails to reveal how the conductors of the survey targeted these ads. Interesting.
Tainted pool.
Additionally, the project doesn't release the top line data or survey questionnaire on its website. Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's interesting. Independent reviewers cannot, therefore, examine the way the survey is structured with the questions or even which questions were asked. The survey speaks of an algorithmic screening process that rejected a percentage of the responses, but doesn't say what criteria they use for the screening. Most importantly, the Trevor Project doesn't say whether surveyors ask questions designed to screen for variables such as whether the respondent had experienced adverse mental health effects before they realized they identified as LGBTQ. It's impossible to say whether the respondents were prone to mental health issues independent of their identified sexuality. So bullshit to everything she said. And you know what? This is the problem nowadays. We're supposed to trust the experts, right? And she's a psychologist. At least that's what she told us. And she didn't even do the base research on how the Trevor Project ran this survey or, this poll or whatever you want to call it. And this is the problem. This is a problem. This is why I don't believe in polls or surveys, because the statements that she made when she makes these declarative statements saying 41% were prone to, suicidal tendencies or whatever the case may be. It's like 41. That's not true. 41% of the people you surveyed said that. That doesn't mean in America. 41% of Americans are like that, or LGBTQ Americans. It's ridiculous.
Do you remember Kasten jumping in after that clip where he said 42% of LGBTQ kids have higher levels of homelessness? Remember him saying that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The hell is that? So
Yeah.
It's all related back to us about book banning, right? So we want porn. We're not book banners. We're porn banners, right?
Not once have we said these books
Yeah.
shouldn't be published.
There's 1,000 of them that were available in that library. I did a search under. We're going after just pornography, any kind of pornography for children. But they're attacking us as if we're blanketing all LGBTQ books. It's an absolute lie. They have to lie because their agenda's full of shit. They're liars.
Absolutely. I mean, she clearly misrepresented the data. She didn't look into it. She gave that as a justification for putting that crap in your kid's school library. She said things like, it will erase the representation of an entire community of people. This is just insanity to make those kind of statements. Oh, but because the establishment says it with a straight face and with a compassionate tone, we're supposed to A, believe them, B, just sit down and shut up and not stick up for our kids. Well, no. We're going to continue going to these type of events. We're going to sit in the front row. And we're going to call them on their bullshit. And then whatever they say, we're going to put it under a magnifying glass, and we're going to come back here into this room and call them out on it.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, do we have the one with John Kennedy and Janulius reading that? Or
That would be a good one, yeah.
no?
I could pull it up.
Yeah, but I could ad hoc it while you're trying to find it if you want.
Well,
I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It'll fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You are going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth, and I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside me. This is the most turned on I've been in my life.
That's the one of John Kennedy.
That was John Kennedy. I
Yeah.
just did it there, so it was hilarious.
But this is like high school kids, right? That's the target audience. That's
no. So that's in grammar schools too.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
speaking
I
out because
know,
of Downers Grove.
Yeah.
But it's in grammar schools.
Bad
and
news. They want the tires to be biodegradable, and we can't change the launch date.
It was required reading.
Since
over the
every team-
summer at someone's school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Junior high
Absolutely.
school. So there we go. Oh. We don't have to do it. I just read it. I just love. I mean, he was way up in the beginning. He was one.
That's Holly. That's
wait,
Holly.
I saw it.
That's Holly.
There you go.
There you go. It is kind of fun. You got to hear him. He's got a great.
I wasn't a very good actor.
He's got a great way of delivering it. It's pretty good.
Or theological or whatever you want to call it. I want to try to understand what you're asking us to do.
You turn it up.
Let's take two books that have been much discussed.
This is pretty good.
See whose accent's better. Mine
The first one is called
He's way better.
All Boys Aren't Blue.
All boys are
And I
blue.
will quote from
Aren't blue.
I put some lube on and got him on his knees. And I began to slide into him from behind.
He's cracking up.
I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me.
I feel like I'm listening to an Adam
He got on
Sandler
top
CD.
and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I have ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain. Close quote. All boys aren't blue. The second is another
my favorite.
much
This is yours,
discussed
yeah.
book.
Your favorite book, Terry.
I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called Genderqueer. Okay? Let me read an excerpt from that. Quote, I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you.
He's trying to
It
add
will
some color
fit
to it
my
now.
favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me. End quote. Now,
What the hell you want?
Mr. Secretary,
Oh, here we go. Here's Januli ass.
what are you asking us to do? Are you suggesting that only librarians should decide whether the two books that I just referenced should be available to kids? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you're saying.
Well, first of all, there's this.
Don't give me a speech. Tell me what you're asking me to do.
With all due respect, Senator, the words you spoke are disturbing, especially coming out of your mouth is very disturbing. But what I would also tell you that we're not advocating for kids to read porn to Senator Booker's point.
What are you advocating for?
We are advocating for
porn, just like Sean
parents.
says, porn.
So he brought up a good question. What are you asking us to do? Well, they're clearly asking parents to put up with the fact that that shit is in school libraries.
Little context: Dick Durbin brought him in thinking he was going to showcase. He goes on to say, "We're the first state in the country. We hope other states follow." That what they're doing to us is they're not allowing parents. If we win the school board and we want to get this crap out of our school,
Bingo.
they won't give us our tax dollars to fund our own kids' schools.
It's crazy, and so you look at this bill, this book ban bill, and the ability now of the libraries via the state to push this kind of crap into schools and into libraries, into kids sections of libraries, and you can see that there's a socialist aspect to this. There's a big government aspect to this, that people and parents can't challenge this type of stuff. And you're not very surprised when you find out that the president of the American Library Association is going to socialist meetings in Illinois and advocating for libraries being socialist organizations. So, Jason, if you could pull up that clip, it's I think it's like a minute long, and it's hard to hear. It's the
Yeah, I thought you were.
It's the Twitter post.
Yeah.
But
check your text too, Jason, when you're done. It's something kind of funny.
But she came to a socialist meeting in Illinois, and there was like an undercover lady recording it.
Really?
And and she was talking about how libraries need to be socialist organizations.
Oh yeah. Oh, what's her name? That was that was
Emily Drabinski, I think her name is. And we had
What's her
at
name?
our meeting a representative
Caldwell
of the ALA.
Stone. Her name was Caldwell Stone.
Caldwell Stone,
Yeah.
right. It's I think it's in the spreadsheet, Jason.
Yeah, it's what do I call it?
Did you put it in there? Oh, Drabinski, there you go. Yeah. So if you watch the video, you can. It's hard to hear, but you can read along what she says. They're calling each other comrade.
And she retracted this after she got so much heat.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Maybe call by the comrade in the green. I'm called by the comrade here.
Comrades.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm a librarian. I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you for bringing up libraries and classroom libraries, but also school libraries of all kinds, public libraries and higher education libraries, which have been under attack in similar ways. But I think your point that public education needs to be a side of socialist organizing, I think libraries really do too. And that I haven't seen that for the working in libraries, but I think there's real opportunity here to both connect what's happening in public education, what's happening in libraries, but also we need some help in the libraries, and we need to be on the agenda of socialist organizing.
Socialist
organizing. So everybody can have their opinion. I know that younger kids lean a little bit more socialist or traditional, But the problem is, it's like that's all cute and everything until they start introducing laws that infringe upon our constitutional rights.
BJ Prickster.
And that's what they're doing. And then
law.
so you can see where all this starts to kind of gel together where, they're going in front of Congress and admitting it's porn, yet it's available to kids in the libraries. Then they write a law that disallows parents from getting the books removed from the library. You find out that they're teaching critical race theory. You find out they're teaching gender ideology, and we're supposed to believe that putting these pornographic books in the schools is innocuous and it's not indoctrinating. Well, we see that the president of the American Library Association is an open Marxist. She's made that statement before that she's a lesbian Marxist. And she's admitting in front of a socialist organization that she thinks that libraries and educational institutions in general should be places for socialist organizing. So, I mean, gosh, excuse us for being a little bit skeptical of the government and the people running these institutions, right? I don't know. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Terry?
It all ties together.
And that was,
Sean
and this is a
Casten,
matter of
the rest of the communists that are
and that was
Pritzker's movement here. They put, as you guys, I got a video too. I forgot. I took the tampon machines in our boys' bathrooms.
Yeah.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Casten also voted for, boys to be in girls' sports.
Yep.
To go in girls' bathroom. I got my kid. I got pictures of I got to dig them up from last year. Boys in the girls' bathrooms in Downers Grove South High School.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Well, so as we look into this a little bit more, you'd say, okay, well, it's okay. Everybody has their opinion. We should respect each other's opinion. But the problem is the state is pushing this stuff through legislation and by controlling the purse, right? And Anastasia Murray, the representative, basically admitted to this during that meeting. And if you could play clip 4, Jason, we can hear her in all her wisdom talk about, well, the state decides because the state is funneling the money.
Yeah, and they'll cut our money off.
and this is a matter of course, again, for our bill, state funding. And we think that the naysayers to our bill said, oh, this is a matter of local control, local governance. No, this is a matter of where state dollars are being funneled, and we don't want state dollars funneled to places where they're discriminating on the basis of partisan or functional beliefs.
We're
And so
discriminating
there
on
you go.
blowjobs.
Yeah, she says the quiet part out loud. Well, actually, it's we, the people, who fund the institutions, right? We're the ones who should be able to tell. The people who work for the public institutions in this state work for the taxpayer. All right. But what she's saying when she says we, she's talking about the regime. That's the context within which somebody like Anastasia Murray or Sean Casten is talking. We will make your decisions for you because you need to be protected by the politicians. You need to be protected from, not being able to see blowjobs in the library when you're 13 years old.
Pritzker used
we, the state, need to override the parent and their wishes because there's 13-year-olds, and that's high because we know that this is in junior high.
It's in grammar school.
It's in grammar school.
It is.
We, the state, have decided that we think it's right to sexualize your children, so we're going to decide where the money goes, and not only that, but we're going to make laws that disallow you parents from being able to get it out of your schools, libraries, and the libraries in your communities where they put it in the kids section during Pride Month.
So Pritzker, when he was being interviewed, and I should have sent you that clip when I was in it with Janulius and Pritzker, and he was calling us like regimes, us, for wanting pornography.
Well, that's the move, right?
Wanting pornography out of the kids' schools, and we keep saying this over and over again. It's not about LGBTQ kids. It's the people that are pushing these books through LGBTQ community, and we're against the pornography. We're not against books that help these kids cope with their sexuality or relate to stories that are relevant to them. They just don't have to see butt slamming and blowjobs.
We spoke to two gay people on this podcast who think this is insane. Who don't agree with this, who think that it doesn't validate a kid who's homosexual to have to see pornography in school. That doesn't make them safe. I'm heterosexual. When I was in junior high, I I didn't need to see porn to validate that I'm heterosexual.
I had to go through.
It doesn't add up.
I have to admit, I'd go through garbage cans looking for old Playboys.
Right. I had to find it for myself.
Yeah.
I had to find it for myself.
We couldn't find old Playboys. We get the Sears catalog.
I'll admit it would have been a lot more convenient if it was in the library, but I don't think my parents would have been too happy about that.
So another thing about forcing this agenda down our throats, right? And they're talking about regimes, and hey Jason, I don't know if you have that FOIA from the Darien Police Department. So as you're looking for that,
well, we don't need it, but you want to just talk about that?
As you're looking for that, Paul and I and the older folks that were with us, we were walking up to the Darien Library, and there was undercover police SUVs in front. I went up and talked to the guy, and I said, "What are you guys doing at the library?" And the officer says, "Well, there was a federal law enforcement agency reached out to the Darien police about threat level, and they had us come in because of supposed threats." And I'm like, "Are you here because of me?" Because remember the terrorist watch list, and I still think that Sean Cassidy had something to do with it. I really do. And I said that in front of you guys and some of the folks that were with us. And so the officer, I remember saying, "Well, I don't really care. I'm getting overtime." So I did a FOIA request to the Darien Police Department trying to find out who from federal law enforcement. There's a million different agencies, right? So sure enough, I don't know. Is that up on the screen yet, Jason?
You sent it through text.
Yeah.
And so I had to send it.
We should.
Okay, so anyway, I did a FOIA, and they got back to me on the FOIA request, and they said that it came through the Capitol Police Department from the Capitol Hill. Where does Sean Caston reside in D.C.? The Capitol Hill Police. So that piece of crap had somebody from the Capitol Police. There you go. Makes a phone call to Darien. If you read this here, right?
Please be advised that the United States Capitol Police, as a legislative branch entity, is not an agency defined by 5 U.S.C. 551 under the Freedom of Information Act. Therefore, the USCP is not subject to the requirements of the Freedom of Information Act.
USCP, United States Capitol. So,
but it's interesting because it tells us that, okay.
What a coincidence. It happened to be that
the Capitol Police were involved. Okay.
So that shows, you know what that's about? Because I had to register.
For a book ban event in Darien, Illinois.
I registered online with my name on purpose. I wanted that weasel to know I was coming.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, they saw that. And this is another example of the weaponization of government. He purposely had them call Darien Police Department to intimidate and have police there for a library event with parents.
Well, it's our taxpayer dollars. Yeah. This guy's using our talk about a pinko commie in Sean Caston, using taxpayer dollars to involve the Capitol Police to tell local law enforcement to cover an event
at a library.
At a library where parents are challenging the law that is put in place by which is an anti-constitutional law. And on that note, why don't we bring up the law? They call it the Illinois Library Systems Act, but it goes by the book ban bill, even with the. There it is. And if you scroll down to the I think it's the second paragraph, Jason. Scroll down a little. There, the underlined word right there. Yeah. So it says there, it is further declared to be the policy of the state to encourage and protect the freedom of libraries and library systems to acquire materials without external limitation and to be protected against attempts to ban, remove, or otherwise restrict access to books or other materials. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. Protect the freedoms of libraries and library systems. Institutions don't have freedoms. Individuals have freedoms. The minute that you hear the government tell you that an institution or the government or a state or a county or whatever the institution of government is has a freedom or a right, what they actually mean authority, and you are then losing some of your rights and freedoms. Okay? To acquire materials without external limitation, and that would cover this pornography back here. So that's anything. They want to start streaming Pornhub, they will. And they can. They can is the point, okay? an argument from a leftist or one of these politicians might be, that's absurd. Why would they do that? That's not the point. That's not the point. What is the point? It's law that they can, meaning they can do anything. They can put anything in there. And then lastly, to be protected against attempts to ban, remove, or otherwise restrict access to books or other materials. Okay, that's where it's completely unconstitutional. It violates our First Amendment rights. And they know it. They absolutely know it. Because if you let's pull up the First Amendment. Let's read the First Amendment and I'll tell you exactly why it's unconstitutional.
As you're doing that too, Paul, after you're done talking about the First Amendment thing, tie in how Amendment 1 is relevant as it relates to this and these public libraries
Sure.
and teachers if they want to go on strike based on
Absolutely,
this.
yeah.
So,
Scroll down a little bit, Jason. I think it's... Keep going, down. Right there, right there. Okay. So, we'll read the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And that is how the Library System Act violates our constitutional right, because they say that library systems, i.e., a public institution, i.e., the state, is protected from parents redressing their grievances, right? Because how can we redress our grievances? Sure, we can go to the library boards, we can go to our town council meetings, and we can say we don't want this. But this law that they created disallows us from having it removed, no matter if 100% of the community came into that library. Yeah. What they've put into law is to say that one or a minority of people that work at the institutional level can override the wishes of its citizens from removing something, violating the First Amendment and our ability to redress our grievances with the government. It's a violation of our First Amendment. It is unconstitutional. They know it. And they're challenging us to take it to the Supreme Court. But how long is that going to take? And how many of our hard-earned taxpaying dollars are going to go to that effort?
So now tie this into Amendment 1 and the relevance of how it gives powers to the unions to force this crap down our throats. Go
Absolutely.
ahead. You can do it better
So
than me.
we've got another bill that it was actually a
it's called the John Curran bill.
It was actually a ballot measure in our last election. It was called Amendment 1, and what it did is it gave plenary power to unions. Now, they claim that it gave power to all unions to do this in Illinois, but there's no evidence that I've seen that private unions can benefit from this. I may be wrong on that. I'd be happy to listen to it, but the point is
teachers,
that it gives public unions the ability to collectively bargain on such broad terms such as economic welfare and safety. Okay, so you might ask, well, how does that violate your First Amendment rights? Well, this is the ability for the government to grow the government even further, right? We're gonna the public unions, say the teachers union, for example. The teachers union can now collectively bargain based on safety and economic welfare. So our tax dollars are going to go up, right? Because they're just going to vote to keep increasing their salaries, keep increasing their benefits. Nobody will ever now. They were the most powerful unions, public unions in the country, or one of the top 2 or 3 as it was. Now they have an amendment that has been instantiated into the Illinois Constitution that gives them these rights. Once again, institutions do not have rights and freedoms. When you hear that from the government, they mean authority, and they mean you are losing your rights. So let's say the teachers union had decided, well, my class isn't safe unless we can teach gender ideology or critical race theory. My class is not safe because I have 4 or 5 LGBTQ kids. I need to include gender theory or gender queer into my curriculum. They can do that. Now, maybe the state will push back a little, but they can collectively bargain on something like that. And furthermore, taxpayers have no ability to redress their grievances on this matter. Because why? Because now it is an amendment, and these unions are protected by the Illinois Constitution. Let me suggest
now.
Let me suggest that rights and freedoms are for individuals, and at no point ever in America, because of the way that our Constitution is written, should public institutions be said to have rights or freedoms. That just means they're stealing rights away from you, and you're going to pay for it, not only in losing your freedom, but you're going to pay for it with your tax dollars. And it's also a way for them to grow government, and that's what these are the things that communists did. Am I saying that America is communist? No, it's the greatest country in the world still. But we've got to continue to fight for it, because our government is doing, our state governments particularly in the blue states are doing these kind of things. They're taking away our rights by writing legislation that will benefit the state and grow the government. And so we confronted Kasten about this, and something that we caught from him was that he admitted that this bill was not constitutionally necessary, and we can play that clip. I think it's clip 3, Jason. It's a short 14-second one on the law tab. Scroll up. There you go.
I think was this our last clip?
Oh, we got one more. I think it's clip 4.
My old ass is getting
Or
tired
clip 3.
from sitting up
Clip
for so
3.
long.
There you go.
So broadly speaking, in libraries, there are limitations on what you can do, and I'd like to believe, and Rep. Stoltenberg wanted to clarify, that constitutionally what you've done maybe wasn't necessary, but politically perhaps it was.
Oh, really? Really, Mr. Kasten? Constitutionally, what you've done may be not necessary. No, duh. But politically, it was. And as far as I can discern, institutions aren't supposed to be political. They're supposed to be public squares, or they're supposed to be serving all of the public, regardless of political affiliation. So I asked Sean specifically if he believed that institutions should have rights that supersede that of the individual taxpayer. Let's see that clip. I think it's clip 7. Yeah, clip 7. Let's see Sean Kasten filibuster.
His cookbook is not being promoted in the children's section.
Clip 7.
I don't see anybody raising their hand.
What does that have to do with this?
Because if you do not have
You're suggesting that people won't kill themselves if they read these books.
I would ask you again, sir, so I can
Yeah, that's me arguing with Sean Kasten, and rightfully so, because he was saying things that were completely nonsensical. It's clip 7. Right, 2 below that.
All right, so.
Yeah, let's fit some
Anybody know any
dead
good
space.
jokes?
Yeah.
We
You,
can skip that. We can skip that then.
No, let's play it. It's because here's the point.
What I do have a question here, and I heard you, Representative Kasten, mention that this wasn't necessary on a constitutional basis, but it was on a political basis. Now, as I understand it, institutions are not supposed to be political, right? But what you just said is that law made the institutions political, because right now one party basically runs a state, and Ann Stauben Murray over here told us that the law was based on the fact that state funding goes to those libraries. So you can see the mafioso aspect of this in some interpretations. So my question is, do you believe that institutions should have authority that is plenary and named rights or freedoms that supersede the rights and freedoms of individual taxpayers who fund those institutions.
No, that wasn't it. I should have cut you off.
That's all right.
Yeah. It's
Stava Murray was texting someone for help.
well
What to say next?
he filibustered, but he did. I don't know if you can find it, but he filibustered. But essentially, what Sean Casten was saying was that that if we don't do something, if we're not activists in our approach to law, then we're not following what the founders intended. And he was kind of talking down to the constituents. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like, wait a second, if you don't write bills that violate our constitutional rights, then you're what, not doing your duty as a legislative body? It doesn't make any sense. And what he was basically saying was, when we see a wrong, we have to right it. It's like, no, not when it comes to the expense of our constitutional rights and the primary one, that of the First Amendment. And he filibustered, but that is essentially what he says, and you can find that. We'll make that entire video available. But the idea that, and this is what the Democrats think the Supreme Court should be, right? That the Constitution is a living document. Well, that all sounds well and good when you're progressive because, times change, and they wrote that old piece of paper back in 1789, and it's not relevant in this modern technological age. The only problem with that is that, what I think is truly progressive is individual freedom. And this idea that we need to be compassionate to the point where we create protected classes that need legislation written for them that will protect them so much and give them a safe space in society so that nobody can offend them in their sensibilities is just a way to bring in authoritarianism, because what it does is it takes a small minority and gives them rights while taking away the rights of the majority. And that's what the left is all about, right? And here in Illinois, we have right-leaning Republicans, supposedly, who don't want to fight against that kind of stuff. And I think that's why we're here, because we're sick of seeing this kind of crap.
We're going to try to push these Republicans to stand up and start fighting. We've got too many Republicans in the state of Illinois that are more concerned with being reelected than doing what's right for us and the people that voted them in. They're too scared because the Democrats are too powerful. They got a million different reasons, but they need to stand up and help support us fighting for our children, fighting for our rights. And if they don't do it, we got to kick them out and find someone else that's going to do it. So that's about all I have to say for this segment. Is we got to fight to stop all this crap that they're pushing down our throats.
Yep. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, share. We're trying to get the word out. We're starting a grassroots movement, and we want you to join us. We'll be in touch with more information about future events and other ways you can connect with us. But please like, share, subscribe to our Rumble, YouTube. We're going to be streaming on Getter soon too, and other platforms. But get the word out, and we're trying to be the voice. We want you to join us.
Thank you.
Every time we pull up, you see stars, you see stripes, you see flags on the cars and the trucks and the bikes. Every time we pull up, we go hard, we outside, we got flags on our arms that are tatted there for life. Every time we pull up, we don't care if you mad, we cherish this land, the haters can't get buried in rags. They set fire to old glory, turning fabric to ash. But every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags.